New data reveals that as Western companies shift their supply chains away from China, the market share of Chinese goods in low-cost Asian imports into the United States is expected to fall below 50% for the first time in over a decade, indicating a decade-low level of U.S. imports from China. According to a report by the Financial Times on June 4, based on the annual reshoring index by management consulting firm Kearney, U.S. imports of goods are shifting towards lower-cost products from countries outside of China, driven by reduced reliance on China by the U.S. government and the push from price-sensitive American buyers. One of the authors of the report, Patrick Van den Bossche, stated, "By the end of 2023, Chinese goods will definitely fall below 50% in the share of U.S. imports from low-cost Asian countries excluding Japan and South Korea." The U.S. and China have been each other's largest trading partners. According to Kearney's reshoring index based on U.S. trade data, Chinese goods accounted for 50.7% of U.S. imports of manufactured goods from Asian countries last year. This is a decrease from nearly 70% in 2013. According to the Kearney Index, while China's exports have declined, U.S. imports from Vietnam have doubled in the past 5 years and tripled in the past decade. India, Taiwan, and Malaysia have also contributed a larger share of Asian products consumed by Americans. According to statistics from the China Chamber of Commerce for import and export of machinery and electronic products, in February of this year, the United States imported 1.356 million household vacuum cleaners from Vietnam, representing a staggering year-on-year increase of 54.1%. In contrast, imports from China amounted to 1.293 million units, reflecting a significant year-on-year decline of 51.7%. Based on monthly statistics, this marks the first time that Vietnam has surpassed China to become the largest exporter of household vacuum cleaners to the United States. The Financial Times reported that Tu-Xin Chuan, director of the China WTO Research Institute at the University of International Business and Economics in Beijing, said, "As manufacturers shift their production away from China, U.S. imports from other countries like Vietnam are increasing." The initial driving factors behind the shift of manufacturing from China were the tariffs imposed during the Trump administration and factors such as labor shortages in China leading to higher wages and costs. Under the leadership of the Biden administration, the decoupling of U.S.-China trade has accelerated, and with tensions ranging from the semiconductor war to China's aggressive stance towards Taiwan, the Biden administration has been actively pursuing an economic security agenda. Van den Bossche stated that new U.S. laws will continue to drive increased investment in the United States and Mexico, shifting away from China. Examples include semiconductor manufacturing and EV, electric vehicle, batteries. He referred to new U.S. legislation such as the Inflation Reduction Act, which imposes strict regulations on the source of battery materials for subsidy-receiving electric vehicles in the U.S., and the CHIPS for America Act, which provides subsidies to encourage chip manufacturers to expand their operations in the U.S. In a March report, analysts from Morgan Stanley stated that the increasing cost of labor in China, geopolitical tensions, and human rights issues have led other companies to reduce their reliance on manufacturing in China. They added, the decoupling of these two economies, U.S. and China, has led to critical manufacturing reshoring back to the U.S., with imports shifting from China to Southeast Asian countries, India, and Mexico. The Financial Times reported that container shipping volumes also reflect the shift in U.S. imports from other low-cost Asian markets, with China paying the price. According to logistics technology company Descartes, China's share of total U.S. container imports declined from a peak of 42.2% in February last year to 31.6% in March this year, although the share has increased since March. During the period from February 2022 to April 2023, the shares of India and Thailand both saw a slight increase to 4.1% and 3.8%, respectively. As we enter the second half of this year, global container throughput is starting to decline, and there are no signs of a surge in container throughput from China. Container shipping bookings from China to the U.S. continue to indicate overall weak import demand in the U.S. China's PMI for May dropped from 49.2% in April to 48.8%, a figure below the 50% mark that represents the dividing line between expansion and contraction, indicating a decline in industrial activity. A report from Nomura Institute for Comprehensive Research predicts that the PMI for June may remain below the threshold. In addition, due to rising global inflation and increased wages, some Chinese manufacturers are also expanding their businesses in Southeast Asia and other regions. Guangdong One New Electric Appliance, a water heater manufacturer, has announced plans to establish production bases in Egypt and Thailand to meet the demands of American customers. Either you're close to the market or close to your resources, said Simon Go, general manager of Arise Up China. The company collaborates with local African governments to operate manufacturing industrial zones. A study conducted by Deutsche Bank in 2019 on 719 products that the United States relies on China for found that 95% of those products can be sourced from other parts of Asia. The report stated that the remaining 38 items are mainly composed of chemicals and related goods.